College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. If your son or daughter is serious about college athletics, call them at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athletes.
Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome back. We are proud to be powered by our sponsors, College Promoters USA. Again, they are America's premier prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. For those of you located in San Antonio, Texas, you can find them locally at the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center. You can also find them on social media at Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. You can also find more information regarding them at their website at collegepromotersusa.com. We are back with the coach, Coach Rafa C., Mr. Papa Socaritis. Coach, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you? How was your holidays?
I'm still in holiday mode, to be honest, man. Still in holiday mode. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, but very excited to be here with you. Talk some shop, talk some soccer. We're going to look at a lot of things as they're kind of in the preliminary side as far as UIL getting ready to start their season. We know we have some scrimmages wrapping up over this week, over the next couple of days, and then come next Monday, January 3rd, they will officially launch their season with you'll see some non-district games, some friendlies individually that lead up to the next 2 weekends for sure, because those are very, very heavy on the tournament side. In UIL, we'll discuss that, and then we'll also discuss TAPPS play, the start of district play there, because they're on the preliminary side again. TAPPS has been into their season now since as of November 1st. Kind of a slow start for them. Usually they build up, get a handful of games. It just depends for certain teams more so than others. Handful of games, and then you've also seen some TAPPS teams that have been playing what is a real game for them and a scrimmage versus some UIL competition, which I know, Coach, you were just at recently. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was recently at the Central Catholic versus Southwest boys game. They're at Benson Stadium. Which was pretty much a little anticipated matchup. You got two quality teams. You look at Southwest; they made it to the regional quarterfinal. Same thing with Central Catholic; they made it to the TAPPS semifinal. But they have great coaches, great talent. So something had to give. But like I said, Southwest really impressed me. They did a lot of great things, and Central Catholic maybe still young in the season, still kind of working the kinks, but I think they'll be all right for their district when they come district place. I think they'll should be the favorite. But like I said, it was a good matchup seeing the TAPPS team versus a UIL team, and we've been seeing quite a few of those these last couple of weeks.
What would you say from you mentioned the TAPPS and the UIL side? Obviously, one team that's in season, they haven't. Central Catholic Buttons haven't played very many matches so far, even though they are in season, versus the Southwest team just getting going. What would you say? Was there a clear difference just in terms of the numbers, the depth that you saw, which kind of goes to say is usually the case between public and private, just because the sheer numbers of the public schools versus the private schools? But was there something that really grabbed you, that stood out to you just from seeing two quality sides in the San Antonio area on the public and private side?
Yeah, what surprised me is normally the TAPPS teams are already in season and they have a few games already under their belts, so they have that chemistry. But what surprised me, the Southwest, you can tell they had a lot of chemistry already with that team, and actually they played the day before. I think they played Lee, and they lost a close one to them. I think 2-1. So I know. I did check on Southwest's schedule as far as scrimmages. They're really piling on the teams as far as preparation. So they're getting battle tested from the start. And I kind of, like I said, I kind of expected maybe Central Catholic to kind of get the leg up since they already had like a month ahead, being in kind of like in shape and having that team chemistry. But the big surprise was Southwest really kind of flexed their muscle. It was like kind of like a boxing fight, kind of like Rocky and Apollo kind of testing each other out a bit. And then finally, Southwest hit them, got a good punch in, got that first one in, and it really it was like a landslide there. They kind of flexed their muscle in that first half, and then Central Catholic made a couple adjustments. And they made it into a little game, but Southwest didn't really flinch too much. They adjusted and ended up pulling up that 4-1 win. But it was a great game because there was a lot of talent on there, like I said. But I do see both teams. They should win their districts with no problem. But I think Southwest might be that sleeper team. Hopefully, like I said, I'm sure they will love to get a revenge game with Valley View in the playoffs. And I think maybe there'll be a different result if the game's played here in San Antonio as well.
Yeah, and those are great points. And one thing I also wanted to hit on, I'm going to go back a little bit. You and I had the pleasure of attending back on, what was it, Friday, December 17th. So going back about 10 days now. Excuse me. We had the pleasure of attending that scrimmage between Smithson in girls soccer, Smithson Valley Rangers and the Dripping Springs, the defending 5A state champions, Dripping Spring Tigers. I know we obviously we were both in the house for that one. What was your kind of takeaway? You've had a little bit more time to digest that one. Final ended up being 3-1 Smithson Valley, a very, very entertaining game. But kind of before I go into my spiel, Coach, what was your takeaways from that match?
Well, going into that game it was a great matchup. You got two quality teams. Well, you got the defending state champs versus one of the 6A's area teams for Region 4. And right from the start, you can tell Dripping Springs were having their way for a while, but then Smithson Valley made some great adjustments, and they took advantage of a lot of the mistakes. And you can still, even though it's kind of, I think, their second game, but the kudos to Smithson Valley. They made they took advantage of those two mistakes to get that lead, that 2-0 lead. And not that Dripping Springs didn't have their chances, because they had quite a few chances, either hit the crossbar or hit to the side or just whiffed a couple of them. So it was a competitive matchup. And then second half, Smithson Valley, with the wind in their back, took advantage of it, got that third goal, kind of, really made Dripping Springs kind of like rattled them there. But towards the middle of that second half, you can see Dripping Springs started picking up the pace. They're starting to they made adjustments. They started going up, getting the attack. They finally got one in, but they had missed out two other ones on two crossbar. I think two of them hit the crossbar, and this could have been a different result. But kudos to Smithson Valley. They were able to hold on and just getting that what I see out of it. I think Dripping Springs, I think they're still going to be the favorite for Region 4 for 5A. I think they'll be in content. They're in that brutal district with Bernie Champion and Alamo Heights, so it's going to be a dogfight for them. But I think they'll come up on top. But those three are probably going to be in contention for the district title. But I still think that Dripping Springs is the clear favorite for Region 4. Even though their team on did talk to us about they're missing a few players too. I think they're starting goalkeeper, a couple other ones, and so I think which is a good experience for them, just in case if there are injuries that you have players that can come in, plug them in, and take care of business. So that's what I got a lot from Dripping Springs. As far as Smithson Valley, from that game, when I did our show there with the San Antonio Roundtable, when I did the Power 15, I have Smithson Valley as number one team for the girls there for the San Antonio area. I was impressed by them. I think they're going to surprise some teams. Can they compete against Westlake and Lake Travis and Vandergrift? I think they have the talent, and I think hopefully those three don't take them lightly, and they could be the one that finally comes out, breaks that little curse, getting eliminated by the Austin teams and finally representing Region 4 for the state playoffs.
Yeah, my take, those are great points. I think my take, when the more I digested that a little bit and looked over kind of my notes from watching their game, one of the things that really stood out to me, our post match interview that we had with Coach Adkins from Smithson
Mhm.
Valley, he kind of hit the nail on the head when he said that um, Dripping Springs, who is projected to be making that leap up to 6A in the next realignment come next August, he said that they're not going to have, and they're going to be just fine. They're not going to have any issues getting settled in at the 6A level, because that was a match that, excuse me, I called it. That was a match that was very much a. If you didn't know better, first of all, you wouldn't think that's a 6A versus a 5A school. First of all, you would have just thought just two pretty evenly matched teams.
Mhm.
The next thing that stood out was just both teams were. It took them a little bit to kind of feel each other out, but both teams were already in. That was like a playoff. That was like a playoff level atmosphere, playoff level match being played in December as a scrimmage. So which rightfully so. Why I know Coach Perrine and Coach Atkins scheduled that
Mhm.
scrimmage. So kudos to them. But also um, just the level of intensity, I think, and what you notice too, Smithson Valley playing possession based, playing out of the back. They were they kind of they set the tone. They established the speed of play. Dripping Springs was adjusting, looking to counter, trying to get settled in, figure things out defensively. And Smithson Valley capitalizes initially, and then that said, Smithson Valley still had their opportunities in the first half. They
Mhm.
clearly did. It goes without saying, obviously, when you're in preseason play, scrimmage, you're always going to be missing players, club players, what have you, multi-sport athletes. We know Dripping Springs was missing one of their top players, one of their top goalkeeper, Caroline Dill, who's a Oklahoma State commit. She was out for that game. So it's kind of hard to say, right? Kind of hard to say, but yeah. And then you could tell when Dripping Springs finally broke through with that first goal, that pressure was mounting, that momentum was mounting, because they were figuring things out more, knocking on the door, hit the crossbar from I believe at least two times, if not three
Yeah.
times. I think another time they hit the football crossbar, right, and then hit the post. I think at least twice as well. So it was an interesting, very entertaining match. A lot of takeaways in terms of, I think Dripping Springs is going to be the real deal once again. I know they graduated, I believe, five or six players from last year's championship squad, and they have about five seniors, I believe, on this year's squad. A lot to be said in terms of what's going to happen, and Smithson Valley is going to be. I think they're going to be just fine. There's very patient. Coach Atkins has them playing very well, still figuring things out. But like I said, that's why they play these scrimmages.
Yeah, like I said, they're for System Valley. They're gonna, they're also in a tough district. You got teams like Clemens and Steele, within that district that's gonna challenge them. Also, New Braunfels Canyon, as well too. So it's New Braunfels, New Braunfels. They're gonna challenge them. So it's a good test for them, because I think a lot of teams, when you go into scrimmages, you want to play the best of the best, have that playoff atmosphere, because that's a lot of the times, you may be in a district that is not that competitive, and this is going to prepare you
Right.
for those matchups later on when you go into the playoffs. So so kudos to those teams. But yeah, we're going to see those, especially those two teams. We're going to definitely see, hopefully, make deep playoff runs this coming year.
Absolutely, and I know right now. I know you're out of town, outside of San Antonio. But any projected plans on any scrimmages that you or Harry, part of the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, might be looking at attending this week?
I think tomorrow I might see. I'm here in Del Rio, so I might be seeing my former team. They have a matchup tomorrow at 2 versus Cornerstone, which is one of the private schools. Even though they're affiliated with TAPPS or SPC, should be. I did see them last year. Del Rio made a lot of mistakes. They should have won that game. So we'll see what type of matchup they'll play tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be able to live stream that game on our Facebook page for the San Antonio Roundtable. Just want to see what it's, an interesting matchup because you have a UIL team versus a private school team. We'll see how what's done. Like I said, Dario, they made a run last year. They went 3 deep to the playoffs before being eliminated by Alexander, which is I actually got to see Alexander a few weeks ago too against Harlan. So and so there's some preparation there as far as trying to see who they're going to get before the start of the season on Monday on the 3rd, which I'm looking forward to.
Right. And I'm still looking. I know. So we return to training with my team. We return to training tomorrow. So the rest of this week. So going to try to see what I can make or what some of us here with the pod team can maybe make out, or some of our, just like we had talked about, that collaborative network that we are that we're building. If you're planning on attending any scrimmages this week, please let us know. And please tag the 50/50 podcast as well as the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. You tag myself and Rafa and follow up on scores as well, or not so much scores. We're not really worried about scores so much as we are just general analysis and matchups leading up to the build up for the start of the season next week. So. All right, Coach. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to transition here. We're going to jump into the start of the UIL soccer season, which starts again next Monday, January 3rd. The big thing, as we all know, very few teams, some teams will maybe get in a game on the 4th, a single non-district game, but it's a lot of buildup that leads to those first 2 weekends in January. You'll see play on the 6th, 7th, and 8th which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, followed by the following Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 13th, 14th, and 15th of January. Those are very, very heavy tournament weekends in UIL play. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the boys first, Coach. So let's locally, before we branch out to across the state, locally in the greater San Antonio area. What has you excited? What are some maybe some tournaments you want to highlight?
I know for San Antonio, for the boys, we have that north side showcase. There's going to be some interesting matchups coming up. You're featuring some of the top north side boys teams, the northeast boys teams, and then some other area and even some out of town teams are going to be coming to that. It's always a good. I know last year I went to see a matchup with Southwest and Churchill. That was a good matchup. A couple, there's a couple other teams there, so that's a good one to look forward. Another one I did get to go to last year was the Alamo Heights tournament, and there they had some really good teams. We had the state champs Lee there. Actually, they made the final to the Alamo Heights tournament versus Alamo Heights. That was a very good matchup. A good, against our traditional powers for 5A and 6A going against each other. And then I got to see an upstart team, which was the Harlan Hawks. And, nobody expected them to make a run last year, and they fell to Lake Travis last year. And that's where they got their start, getting the ball rolling into their successful season. So they're going to be in that tournament. And we got a couple of Dallas teams like Waxahachie is going to be there. I think Arlington Heights. I think even some Corpus Christi teams will be there.
Right.
And then, so those are the key tournaments for the boys there in the San Antonio area.
Now, when we branch outside of just the immediate San Antonio, we'll look at maybe the larger the region, right? With Austin. Talk a little bit about the upcoming tournament. I forget what year they're in now of hosting it, where they share it with, I believe it's Lake Travis, Westlake.
Yeah, the Lake Showcase. Yeah, that'll be the week after. That one's becoming, I guess, it's kind of competing now with that the North Texas Showcase too,
right? Because
you're getting quality teams. I know with the North Texas Showcase, you do get some out of state teams, but this one's been really. Look at some of the teams that are listed on there. Besides, you have like I said, Lake Travis, Austin Westlake, and then also Vandergrift that hosts. Now you have teams like Leagues are going to be there, Harlan. Even some of the Laredo schools, I think like United and Alexander, United South, I think they've kind of realized, hey, we need to play some top-notch teams to get so we can match up against them in the playoffs. You see some teams from the Houston area and Dallas area. So this is a really good showcase. So if you're out in the Austin area for them 2 weeks, it's check out some great soccer because you're going to see some quality playoff teams,
Right.
and even some state, like I said, a state champ and some state contenders. They're going to be there. So have the opportunity to go check it out.
Yeah. Do you have any? I know we were just talking about it. How long have they been hosting that particular tournament there?
I think that one's about 3 or 4 years old. I think it's just recently just added, and it's like I said, it kind of rivals that one with the Governor's Cup, because I know the Governor's Cup there in Georgetown was the kind of like the big tournament that features a lot of quality teams. But you got to give kudos to Westlake and Travis and Vandergrift hosting this showcase, because they are attracting some of those teams, and hopefully eventually they'll it gets a little bit bigger. We'll get more, and they'll get maybe some out of state teams to come to the Austin area for that showcase, and maybe they even go to a couple bigger venues. There's Q2 there. I mean, that'd be great to have a couple games there, high school games there, or even that Round Rock complex, or somewhere like I said, that will feature some of the top talent, not only in that area but also in the state.
Yeah, and so did you mention the Frisco ISD tournament?
Yeah, there's also the Frisco ISD tournament. That's the first week. That's also another quality tournament. You're going to have the 5A state champs, Wakeland. They're going to be in that tournament. Next, we mentioned the Northeast Elite Tournament. You got some of the best teams in the Dallas area and also out of state. And then we got a couple San Antonio teams. I think Clemens and Central Catholic are going to be up there competing. So, these type of showcases and tournaments are what you're looking for as far as, to get you prepared for your district play. Because there are some teams, like I said, some teams start district right away after that week one. If you're in a 10 team district, you start district play. So you have to have all those quality games to kind of get you ready for that.
Right.
I know there's some districts that have maybe 7 or 8 that you can squeeze in a second tournament or showcase. But for those teams that are 9 and 10, they make sure they go to these top-notch tournaments to get them prepared for the district play and also for the playoffs.
Right. Okay. Yeah, good analysis, good takeaways, all on the boys' side. I know we tend to naturally you focus a little bit more on the boys' side. I focus a little bit more on the girls' side, just through our experiences, our coaching experience as well. Now transitioning, transitioning over to the girls' side. Number of great tournaments as well, and again, so for coaches, tournament directors, or even if you're participating in a particular tournament that we don't mention today, not just in the greater San Antonio area, but across the state, bring it to our attention, DM us, tag us, just feel free to DM the 50/50 podcast or San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. We'll make sure that these are tournaments results that we want to go ahead and follow up with for upcoming episodes as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. Let us know if there have been any changes as far as times, dates, matchups, anything as well. Please let us know. Again, so DM us and follow up with us. On the girls' side, Coach, so we'll start locally as well. I know one, and I'll hit on this one just because I recently just had him on the podcast, but that first weekend in January, the 6th, 7th, and 8th, is the Smithson Valley Ranger Classic, hosted there, obviously, at Smithson Valley High School. In talking with Coach Atkins, I know they usually have a very good turnout in terms of just fan supporters, but also college coaches for that one. He did mention a few besides them, obviously. He did mention they'll have Canyon will be there, Churchill will be there. He did Harlingen will be there, and I think Hendrickson, if I'm not mistaken, just off the top of his head. So it's going to be some very good quality matchups as well there. So that's one that we're definitely looking forward to. Hopefully we can cover. We can make a trip back out there to Ranger Stadium. They tend to take care of us very well out there as well. So shout out to the Smithson Valley Athletic Department and particularly Coach Atkins. So So besides that one, Coach, Ranger Classic, and before we start kind of looking a little closer across the state, what else has you excited on the girls' side locally?
Locally, there's also the Serge Clemens, Universal City Showcase. That's hosted at Steele High School and Clemens High School. So you're going to have a more quality teams there too. They're going to be attending.
Do you know who's going to be in that one? Any idea?
I know it should be Steele and Clemens. I haven't gotten the whole. I have been trying to look to see, and if they're watching, like I said, hopefully they can send us a list of teams out there. But I do know in the past they've had some quality teams,
Right.
like especially like for Northeast and North Side. Some of the Austin area teams have attended, that little showcase. So like I said, if they're watching, like I said, send us a little, shoot us a little tweet, what teams are out being playing on that, that showcase. Another one that's a little up the road is the Longhorn Showcase too, hosted by UT. They have quality. They're going to have quality teams playing there. They're at the UT soccer field where the women's play at, and actually it's a boys and a girls showcase. So showcasing a lot of great talent.
Yeah.
Too bad UT doesn't have a boys team, and it would be nice, for recruitment purposes, but. I'm sure with the girls, like I said, it's an opportunity for UT to look at some of the top talent here within the state, and then plus we're going to play a really nice facility too. They have a good facility there where the Lady Longhorns play for college soccer for the Big 12.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the weekend on actually I think was it on the girls' side, boys' side? That I-10, is that the one up in the
Katy.
I-10 challenge? That's the one in Katy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
There is one in the Woodlands. I did see the Reagan Lady Rattlers. They're going to play in the Woodlands tournament. So I did see them, and I think there's also another one I listed on there. Another tournament in that Katy area, which is I'm just kind of checking my notes really quick. It's that Katy Mojo Classic. So that's
I think that's separate from the
separate from that one. I think the
I-10
was one the week after that.
Yeah, the I-10 shootout is because the Katy Mojo Classic is that first weekend, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the I-10 shootout, I'm looking at it here. It's January 13th through the 15th, and that's trying to look up actual list of participants right now, but they haven't got a pretty good little website though that's already up and running. So kudos to them. Trying to pull up just don't know if this is their projected. If this is last year's stuff or if this is now updated with this year's stuff, but they're broken down into multiple brackets across. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 brackets. So that should be an interesting one there for sure. What do you know? What can you tell us about that Katy Mojo Classic?
I do know that they bring a lot of the top teams from the Houston area. I know there's a couple San Antonio teams are heading out there. So it's basically, like I said, another tournament or showcase that's going to feature playoff contenders, district champions, and it's kind of you're getting your bang for your buck, preparing you, like I said, for district play. So that's the benefit of these tournaments. Going to these tournaments, and I'm sure that the women's team, the girls teams going to these, they come from really tough districts. So, what more did you need for preparation is going to all this. Okay. So like I said, and then if you look at the Katy teams, like I said, they've had teams of one state in the past, and so what more to play those teams like Katy Taylor, Seminole Lakes has an awesome team. Like I remember watching them a few years ago. So there's a lot of great programs that are coming up. Langham Creek, just to name a few. Friendswood. Yeah. So you're gonna get the quality, the top-notch quality area Houston area teams.
Yeah.
Playing against each other.
And we got Mr. San Antonio FC himself, Mr. Harry Austin, in the house, saying hi. What's going on, Harry? And special thanks to Brandon Rich, he did tell us that the I-10 shootout is their website, very nice website, is updated, and So everything is current. All information on there is current. And so essentially every school in the Katy ISD hosts one of these particular brackets. So we're going to go ahead. We'll do a quick screen share here so you guys, so we can get a better idea. All right. All right. Can you see this, Coach?
Yeah, I can barely see it.
Okay. Let me blow it up here a little bit. All right. So essentially here, so you have a Panther bracket. All right. With the schools listed. Ram bracket. Tiger bracket. So these are all the individual schools obviously hosting a particular bracket. So pretty well thought out across the ISD.
And you can see some of the top quality teams like they're
Right.
there. The Mustang bracket. You got Taylor. You got Side Creek.
Got Lake Travis and the Spartan bracket. I'm trying to look for schools outside of the greater Houston area in here. So
that Seven Lakes and Lake Travis. That'll be a great matchup.
yeah, you have you got Johnson in the Falcon bracket.
Johnson with Tompkins. Tompkins is an up and coming team that's been doing well.
Yeah. And this was the other thing that I was looking for. This is good to see when you see the private schools being able to be afforded opportunities to get in here as well. It's really good for both the private, obviously for both the private schools and the public schools, because they see a different school, different level of competition, maybe that they're just not used to seeing. So it's very good in this non-district prep period. So, all right, special thanks again to Brandon Rich on that. All right, next thing, Coach, I know we wanted to hit on here. So I wanted to mention NEPS. So very dynamic set of participants in this particular tournament. Let me pull this up here. So the Nepsa Showcase, which is also played across, I believe, 3 schools. I know Nolan Catholic is one of them, and but you look at this. Look at this pretty dynamic makeup of schools. Arlington Heights, and then out of our region, you'll see a couple of South Texas schools here in the private schools in Antonian, as well as Bernie Champion, and then obviously some of these staples on the. So this is a very good mix of private and public schools across the region. And then another interesting one here is Carondelet out of California, and Harvard Westlake out of California as well. And then if you look down here, you also have Steel Canyon out of California. So Ursuline, which is again one of your biggest powers in the state on the private side, and there's St. Agnes there again. So very good matchups. You got Flower Mound in there, Denton Geyer, South Lake Carroll, Coppell.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got Ron Rock had a really good season last year. They made a run.
They did. Very much so. Very much so. So anything stand out to you on this one?
Oh, this is what you were looking for as far as tournament preparation, for your season. This is a good measuring stick of how good your team is, and then after that, you can use that to review. Okay, what do I need to do to compete against these teams? Whether win or lose, you're gonna get a lot of information to see where your team is at. And like I said, this could be like a bracket for playoffs. Every game is a playoff game. Even some could even be a state championship game.
Absolutely. This is a very, very impressive group of teams. I like the mix of public and private as well. You have who are Hockaday in there out of the SPC. That's just another level of high caliber talent. And then, of course, out of this region, out of the San Antonio area, you have again Antonian as well as Bernie Champions. And I know Coach Walters has had the Greyhounds, the Chargers, Bernie Champion, the Chargers headed going there. I think for probably about 4 years now, 3 or 4 years at least, probably pre-pandemic for sure. So this will be an interesting one to cover for sure. Again, tournament directors, coaches, results, tag us, share any changes. because we'd like to stay on top of these. These are great matchups, particularly with this combination of North Texas, South Texas, private schools, and then of course visitors coming in from California, which we all know is the hotbed when it comes to women's soccer. So another one that I wanted to highlight also, excuse me, one that I have previous experience that I think doesn't get enough of the love that it should get. Very kind of highly underrated tournament, and he's been doing great things there. I know I had him on the podcast not too long ago. Coach Logan Minshew and the Fredericksburg High School Hill Country Winter Classic that they will host the first weekend of January, the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And that is, to me, that may be your best non-6A, non-6A tournament, pound for pound, top to bottom. Maybe sub 5A, I guess you could say, non-6A, sub 5A, just because, again, it hits on a lot of these things. Similar to NEPS, where it's a good mix, or it has been in the past, a good mix of public schools, private schools. You got 4As, 5As, a big blend, small 5As, big 4As, big 5As, big 4As. It's a real interesting kind of mix of a little of everything. And they do a great job of hosting us. And they, Coach Minshew does a great job of balancing those brackets. And I believe he's going to have it'll be a showcase style format again this year. So it just depends, because that's the other thing to keep in mind with all these tournaments. They all vary. Some are showcase based, some are true bracket, a winner's bracket / consolation bracket. So all those things to keep in mind as well. What are your thoughts maybe on, and I don't know how much you know about the Fredericksburg one, Coach. Anything? Have you heard anything in the past?
I mean, now that we're having more teams in 4A, it was difficult for a lot of those teams to kind of play in some of those 6A, 6A tournaments, and not really playing schools that kind of with nothing wrong with playing that, because you are testing yourself, but sometimes you do want to play teams that are at your level, that you are going to see in the playoffs or even in district play. This is a good tournament, a good measuring stick for those teams. And more and more of those sub 5A tournaments are popping up. Like I said, like Fredericksburg. I mentioned one like in Waller, Texas. They're going to have one in that Houston area, right. Which is another good one that it attracts a lot of those great women's teams from the girls teams from the 4A level. So it's good for them. It's
now is that a newer one? Is that a
it's
newer
one of the newer ones?
It is, right? Yeah.
It's one of the newer ones. So like I said, I think that's and plus also, like I said, allows them to get a lot more games in, since a lot of the 4A districts maybe only have 4 or 5 teams in their district, so they have to schedule as many as they can, non-district or tournament games, just to get ready for that, because their districts, it's done within 2 or 3 weeks, and because of the number of teams that are on there. So, and then also allows some other teams, like, some of the TAPPS teams, like, like Our Lady of the Hills, for them, Bernard Geneva, like your team too, as well, to, have opportunities to play teams at, at that level as well too. So it's good to see some of these smaller schools start to host, these 4A tournaments. And I think I anticipate I'm going to see a lot more past after the realignment and so forth. We'll probably see a lot more of those teams start hosting them, which is great for, more soccer out there.
Absolutely. And so shout out, got to give some love to my El Paso folks out there. Hold on. Got to give some love to my El Paso folks out there who I know. So on the girls' side, I haven't been able to confirm this on the boys' side, but on the girls' side, some of the teams that will be participating in certain tournaments is you will have, I know El Dorado, Montwood, Eastlake, Del Valle, and Bel Air will all be in the Frisco tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll also have, I believe, in the Wolfworth Friendship Tournament, Socorro will, I believe, be going to that one. So cannot confirm yet. I know I'm trying to verify which one I think Franklin was in, but I forget which one they were in. And then on the boys' side, so again, my El Paso folks, share whatever tournaments you're going to be in. You're going to be on this side of the state. Obviously in the DFW area, but also whether you're going to be in Austin, San Antonio, or even in the Valley or out in Houston, please let us know. I know Franklin is going to one of the Houston tournaments. I just can't remember. I got to verify which one.
I know the boys say I think they're having the Socorro Montwood boys tournament, and I saw some good teams on there.
Yeah,
I saw St. Eli on there, couple from that district. So I'm sure that's going to be real competitive. I did see a team from Lubbock. Coronado is actually going to be at that tournament. So
yeah,
kudos to them to drive out from Lubbock to El Paso.
right.
Tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be that's going to be a very strong team on the girls' side. Lubbock Coronado this year. Look for them to do some special things. And I got to say, so I believe on the boys' side, they will be trying to verify here. So going back to Franklin, they are going to be playing, and I just got to double check that tournament that they're in. But they're going to be out in the Houston area, taking on Pasadena, Clear Springs, and Elsick, just to name a few schools. So I know the boys' side and girls' side, Coach Hernandez, Coach Valle will have the Franklin Cougars out in the Houston area. So a big thing, though, to share with the rest of the state, though, is I think it goes beyond saying at this point the quality, the caliber of play out in West Texas, not only in Lubbock but obviously far West Texas and El Paso, is get some of your teams, for those of you on this side of the state, get some of your teams to go out there and participate in some of those tournaments as well, because you will see just not only from just the level of play, the experience you'll have, but the travel. The travel comes in handy once you start entering the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's the earlier, I guess, exposure you can give to your teams on that. It shouldn't always just be the El Paso schools coming to this side of the state, but schools from this side of the state also going that way. Yeah. So, what else we got, Coach? We look back on the girls' side. Any other tournaments?
Just like I said, there'll be some other ones coming up. I know, like for our local areas, I've seen like for San Antonio, like SAISD, who's gonna have a boys tournament. I think there'll be some Valley tournaments, like McAllen girls are hosting one, so that's some good. I know some San Antonio area teams are going there. So you're gonna have your pickings as far as a lot of the tournaments especially those first 2 weeks, that you can attend, and you're gonna see a lot of great soccer out there. So, because hopefully we'll catch us seeing us out there for some, checking out some of the games out there. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Right. Awesome. So, all right. Well, that's going to wrap up our first segment here, Coach. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a look at the start of district play for TAPPS district play, and we'll just briefly kind of rifle through the districts, get any input, any thoughts, and then kind of get your questions as well that you might have for me. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. If your son or daughter is serious about college athletics, call them at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athletes.
All right, and we're back with Coach Rafa Castorena. We're looking at Season 2, Episode 1 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. So we just kind of ran the gamut, if you will, on upcoming tournaments, key tournaments that we've identified on the UIL side as they get ready to kick off the week of January 3rd. Now, that same week, as early as January 4th, and I can attest to this personally, district play. Now, some district play has already kicked off on the TAPPS side just because of the size of, for two reasons. One, either the size of districts and or they elected to start district play in December so they could participate in some of these tournaments that we just mentioned on the UIL side, these first two weekends of January. So before we kind of dive into the districts briefly, Coach, just kind of go through them. Any particular thoughts locally on the TAPPS school side? Questions? Anything you might have?
Yeah, as far as the district play, any favorites going into it, like any key matchups. that I look for. I know I'm looking forward to seeing a couple of the TAPS games. I know some, like I said, have done some pre-district games, and some are maybe be doing some also some tournaments. But I know a lot of the district games are going to start that first week. Any teams that kind of, especially like on the boys side, that kind of catches your eye. Besides, like with Central Catholic, that maybe will be another contender, maybe contending with them with that in our area or even statewide.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Central Catholic is the obvious one on the boys' side, and then I think what that will be like in that district. What kind of comes to mind this year is what will that be like? The adjustment that Central Catholic makes this year after a lot of that talent that they've had that has graduated, and obviously, Coach Ed Carty, he just continues to develop them. So they really, I guess you can say, they reload rather than rebuild, right? As cliche as it sounds. Excuse me, but this may be the first time in the last, I don't know, 6 7 years where there's a little bit more of a question as to, okay, how dominant are they going to be? That's more of the word, maybe. How dominant, and is Antonian in position to possibly not only challenge them, which they do, but to maybe overtake them this year? Not that's not a bulletin board material comment. That's just kind of the word I've been getting through the grapevine from and speaking with coaches, multiple coaches on the boys side. I think when you look at 5A, one that clearly stands out locally in the San Antonio area is, TMI. Once again, what are,
Mhm.
they're kind of in a similar yet different position from Central Catholic as to, okay, what is going to unfold this year there now that they their coach is gone. I know they've taken a dent in terms of their coaching staff. I think two of their three coaches on their coaching staff are no longer there. The talent may be there, but what is it going to be like? What is it going to look like now in that district? So those are, I guess, the big questions on the boys' side. Thoughts on the girls' side?
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to says for the girls' side, contentions from teams like I know the Dallas teams from TAPS have been dominating, like Ursuline and like Agnes and so forth. Um, you know, we've kind of been waiting to see which girls from our area here, especially in San Antonio, like the Antonian girls and the other teams like maybe Our Lady of the Hills, Bernie Geneva. I know GP Church GP the second had a run last year too, and I think they won the state the year before.
Right.
So we're like I said, we're looking forward to see what those teams how to react after this past year. They maybe kind of fell short, but we're looking to see if they can contend. I know the Antonian girls have been doing really well, so they've that had them in my top 15 rankings for locally and so forth.
Mhm.
So and then your team, like I said, your team's in contention too in district play, and I think how do you feel about your team going into district play going in as far as competing for that district title?
Whew, this is where I start giving all the coach cliche talk, right? No, I think for us at St. Mary's Hall, I think very excited for my girls. I think that we're probably it's in a very tough district. I think some of it speaks for itself just in terms of when you look at last year, just the quality of runs that multiple teams in our district made in the tournament, including Austin St. Michael's, who made a run all the way to state and lost in the state final, who by all accounts are even better this year. They also were able to get a couple, all on the up and up, obviously, but they were also able to acquire a couple of transfers from out of Dripping Springs. So that's kind of scary, I guess, when you look at it from our perspective in terms of our district. But I think from our perspective, when you look at our district, it's an interesting one. So we talk about District 3. So it's District 3 5A, and so it's 4 Austin schools and 4 San Antonio schools. And for me, I just moved back here after having been gone for the last 2 years. So some of these schools I'm going to see for the first time. Some of these schools I know about, but some of these schools I'm going to see for the first time. And it's a mixed bag because you also don't know what you're going to get after last year, right? Because last year was such a really odd season in terms of just COVID-19, a lot of players missing, players opting out, all kinds of stuff, just the depth issues. So clearly, I think you have Austin St. Michael's in our district, and then Austin Regents, I think are the probably you can argue or arguably are the top two teams in our district. Then after that, you have this wide mix of, there's Geneva, Bernie Geneva in there. You have Hyde Park. You have who we play on January 4th, which is Austin Brentwood Christian, TMI, and us. In that whole group there, that can look 3 through 7, can look any, it can look, or 3 through 6, I should say. It can look any number of ways, really. So I think our girls, I'm excited for our girls. I think we're going to be ready, and we're just going to focus, going to continue to focus on us, not focus on who's lining up on the other side of us, and work on getting better each day and continue to, our big mantra has been compete, embrace competition, getting better each day, focus, controlling the controllables, all those things that they're rooted in, they're cliches, but they're rooted in truth. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was like I said, I'm looking forward to it because I'm not too familiar much with the TAPPS teams and so forth.
Right.
So I look forward to checking out some of those games because, like I said, they're also competitive teams in these districts. They might be not UIL, but like I said, I think some of those can compete in the UIL if they ever got an opportunity to play there and so forth. So, so I look forward to coming out to one of your games. Hopefully, I get a chance when I get back to town to check those out and see how how the girls do. And also, you guys have the boys team too as well.
Yeah,
so hopefully they will as well.
Yeah, our boys team is, there's definitely some talent on there. Coach Ramos says, Coach Ramos, Coach McDonald, they're going to have them ready to go. Tough district again, but I think they'll have them ready to go. And just like I said, they just you got to take the grind, on what it's like on the TAPPS side from January 4th to basically February 18th. It's nonstop. It's every Tuesday, Friday will be district play. And then with district certification taking place on that following Tuesday, which is the 22nd. So because by that Thursday, February 24th, all playoffs begin. So everybody's got to be ready to go. So it can be a mixed bag hitting district play right out of the gates, right after this long holiday break. So we definitely got to practice for sure. So
is it really important getting those as far as going into the non-district games with some of the UIL teams? How do you prepare for those? Do you take them seriously, or do you okay, let's just use them to see what we can fix? How do normally do the TAPPS teams view playing a UIL team, knowing going into we're not going to see them, but we're going to maybe try to avoid injuries or something. What is their view as far as going into that?
No, you clearly take them serious. You clearly have respect for your opponent. You don't ever, kind of underestimate your opponent. But it's all those things. It's that mixed bag. It's like anything. It's kind of like, it's an end. Even if it's a non-district game, we're in season. We're here to compete. But you also, you want to look at different things. You want to expose your players to a different level of whether it be just competition, depth chart, right? That's sometimes what you'll have when you're playing some of these public schools. Is we may have private schools. Some of these private schools they may be 3, 4, 5, 6 deep off the bench, right? Some of these public schools, they could have like a whole second set of starting 11, that can come off the bench. They're that quality. So it just depends, and sometimes also, like anything, it comes down to kind of like boxing. I'm a boxing guy as well. So they say styles in boxing, they say styles make fights. In soccer, it's the same thing. Styles make matchups. So you often look at when we try to obviously you don't have control in the tournament, but when you try to schedule them individually, you look at maybe a particular style of play for some of these teams on the public side that they may mirror something like you're gonna see in district play, right? So all those things factor in all those things, but so there's and it varies. It varies from roster to roster, coach to coach. Because some every now and then you might think, hey, I might have a shot here at a very special team. We got to expose them early to a different style of play in a different area of the state. Get them out there early.
No, it's good to know. Like as far as going in, because like I said, I'm sure it's a challenge. Because some of these UIL teams do have the depth compared to some of the private schools. Going into the season.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Just a real quick run through of our TAPPS districts. I think also so we can kind of put them on display a little bit more for some of our listeners that may not be used to seeing this on the public side, or I mean, they may not be exposed to the private side, I should say. So, okay, so we look at here. So this is on the boys' side. So Division 1, District 1, that's what that 1 means there. So you'll see, so we'll have 4 schools there in District 2. And if anyone jumps out at you, Coach, anyone you want to highlight or mention or speak about?
Yeah, Nolan Catholic, I know they've had a good, for the boys, they've had a good history of playoff runs and also a couple state titles.
Yeah.
I say especially also John Paul II, Plano. They've been a state champion that I've seen. Just kind of when I followed Central Catholic. Like I said, then there's District 3 here with Central Catholic, Antonian. San Antonio Christian's actually been winning some quality games, and they may surprise District 3 this year and could contend for that district title. St. Dominic, not too familiar for them. I think that might be an upstart team as far as in that district. And then District 4, like I said, what can you say about the Houston area teams? You got St. Thomas, Pius X. And those 2 teams are, always making it to the playoffs. Also the team from Beaumont, that's your defending state champs, Beaumont Kelly, the one that knocked off Central Catholic,
Right.
So,
yeah, that got everyone's attention.
And then the lone wolf there, Cathedral.
The lone wolf.
They did make a great state run 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah, 2 years ago they gave Central Catholic everything they could handle in that state final. Yeah,
I don't think anybody expected them to make that run. So I'm sure this year they'll be a contention against this year.
Right. Here we start transitioning to Division 2, which is your District 5 or Division 5A, if you will. Mm-hmm. So this 1-5A here. So you'll see your DFW. So 1 and 2 districts 1 and 2 are pretty much the DFW and the greater DFW area. So and then here Grapevine Faith, which has been a staple here, or actually on the girls' side more so. But and some of these, and one thing to highlight is you will see these districts will look different from the boy side to girl side on the private side, because you will have some schools that are all boy only or all girls only. So they do look different, and they just vary. So here's another big one. So District 3, we start looking at, so here's the boys side, and here's our district, what we were talking about. You'll see this is the one district that's like completely split between, in terms of two major cities in Austin and San Antonio, which is District 3 5A, which we already had highlighted. Then you have got the coastal Bend district there in District 4. And then you got District 5, which is a huge district.
Yeah, some of those Houston area teams have been, I don't know, like the Woodlands, and they've had a quality team,
right,
for 5A.
And then we start transitioning over to 4A, which is Division 3 in your districts here that you'll see. So, and one of the biggest things that stands out, you don't see it here this year yet, but what is going to happen next year with the next realignment is 4A in TAPPS is going to be, it's actually going to overtake 5A as the largest division in soccer. So now we looking over at the girls' side here, very similar, no real changes. The big one here on the girls' side here is in District 2, which is just probably the most successful program, public or private, in all of high school, not in soccer, but in all of high school sports. They have Ursuline Academy out of Dallas. They have just a ridiculous number of state titles at the 6A level. And then there's our local districts, Antonian and Carnarvon, Sacs again, and St. Dominic Savio. Coastal Bend, or Houston, I should say, sorry.
Yeah,
Start transitioning to Division 2. District 2, District 3, again, there's our district there. And then there's your Coastal Bend district. And everything from here, for the most part, everything looks the same. So, thoughts on coverage? Anything on the private side? Sorry, Coach.
This is, like I said, just for them. They do start. Like I said, started the season earlier. They're already in the groove, going into district play. And like I said, I'm sure, like I said, they're very eager to, like I said, get districts. The start of the district really ready to go, and we'll see who comes out as far as the favorites, and then as far as who makes the playoffs, and hopefully these games have prepared, these pre-district games have prepared them for that and going in, because I know there's going to be some good matchups. Like I said, there's a lot of Dallas, Houston district heavy teams. They got, like I said, like Ursuline Academy. I've heard about them, and I think they won like consecutive district, like state championships, like a 15, 16 in a row or something. So they got knocked out.
They finally lost. They finally lost about 4 years ago, but they had a streak of, I think, 22, 23 in a row, something like that. Yeah. And then St. Agnes finally knocked them off. And it's kind of one of those. I know I had last season on the podcast, I had Nolan Catholic's coach on here, and he was talking about that was, if not for them, you can only argue how many maybe state titles they would have, because that's just who they couldn't get past, right? So yeah, that's a tough one. They are fun.
That makes me wonder if St. Ursuline can compete in UIL and 6A.
No doubt.
If they can compete against Capel, Flower Mound, or South Lake Carroll, how successful would they be, and will they be able to win a state championship in the 6A level? That'd be something interesting. I know, like where we have like Dallas Jesuit and Houston Straight Jesuit that did the transition from TAPPS to UIL. And like I said, that'd be interesting to see St. Ursuline, and wonder if they would ever consider going into UIL playing in 6A. Because that'd be some good matchups going into that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, can they compete? Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just a matter of where they end up, where they're placed, but could they compete? No. I mean, when you end up seeing a lot of these public schools versus private schools in an individual match, like I said, styles are what drives it more than anything. But and it usually comes down to just more depth, the numbers thing. But a school like a St. Agnes, or maybe even Ursuline, because they're all girls schools. So those numbers are heightened versus a private school that is co-ed, so that pool in terms of additional student athletes is doubled, if not tripled. So that's another aspect to keep in mind on the private side versus on the public side. So awesome. Well, hey, Coach, this has been great. This has been good. I know. Any thoughts as we start? What comes to mind in terms of coverage? What you want to hit on? What we have planned for our next episode of Inside Texas High School Soccer?
Hopefully, we're going to hit on some of the Week 1 results from the tournaments, some matchups. I know there's some good matchup. I think one of them, hopefully, I'll be able to get to go to on January 3rd, even though it's a 6A, 5A matchup, but they're perennial powers. Churchill versus Porter. They're at Comalander Stadium. I think it's at 5 p.m. That's a great. That's basically that could be a regional final game if they were both in 6A or 5A. So that's going to be a good matchup. And then, looking forward to seeing some of these tournaments. Hopefully we'll get to go out to the Ranger Classic and maybe also the Northside Showcase, just to check out some of the teams out there. And so if you see us out there, say hi to us. Any pictures, tag us on pictures and stuff. And, we love to, get info from what's going on with your teams, and, hashtag us on the scores. I know we have the hashtags there that we send out on some tweets. I know for San Antonio, it'll be the 210 soccer scores. hashtag that on there, but tag both of us on there for those area tournaments for San Antonio or Region 4 too, as well.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there. I was just getting ready to share that really quick, just as a reminder. So for our listeners everywhere, I know. Let me see if I can share this here. Oh, it's freezing up on me here. Let's see, give it a second. So, Rafa, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So screen's taking a second to respond, but so essentially you did hit on it. I was going to try to highlight that graphic one more time, but we did release it last week. So high school coaches, public and private alike, tournaments, individual play, scrimmages, doesn't really matter. Not really focused so much on scrimmages, more so it's just the analysis on scrimmages. But your scores, your posts, make sure please enter the tag, the TXHSSOC scores. All right, for Texas high school soccer scores. Again, that's TXHSSOC scores. So this way we can track it closely. That'll be the hashtag that we're trying to follow, and then of course include your TXHSSOC hashtag for Texas high school scores as well. So, give me 1 second here. All right, I think that's gonna go ahead and do it for us. Rafa, anything else? Thoughts? As we start wrapping up here.
Ready for 2022? What to expect this year? I've seen some contenders. As for mine in my area for San Antonio, hopefully, like I said, I think like mentioned, Smithson Valley girls. I did see like Laredo United boys. They were impressed. I was impressed by Southwest. So we have some teams that here in my area that I think could make some long playoff runs and be in contention. We have a couple state champs down here. We have Lee boys. I think they still have the talent to repeat. We're going to come out of Region 4 and defend their title. But I'm sure there's some teams that maybe they are going to challenge them and push them to the limit. And same thing in the 5A, like with Dripping String Girls. They're going to have that big target on their back. And you have teams like Burning Champion, Alamo Heights are going to be targeting them. Even Gregory Portland, just to mention a few. So it's going to be an interesting season coming up for 2022.
All right, there, and I am back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right.
I think I froze or something.
Yeah. It was in the middle of trying to bring up the actual hashtag here, and for whatever reason, it kind of didn't like it, and it froze on me, and then it kicked me out. So, recap again. Appreciate our listeners, all our scores. What I did want to share. Let's see if it'll let me share again this time. Fingers crossed here. Okay, there we go. So our share screen, what we're trying to do here. So again, high school coaches, public and private alike, remember to tag us or utilize the hashtag. So whenever you're reporting scores, any media day, mainly on your scores, which is really what we're worried about at the end for your results. Please be sure you utilize the hashtag TXHSSOC scores for Texas high school scores. Again, TXHSSOC scores for Texas high school scores. And then for our San Antonio, let me share here. Hold on. Trying to find your post here, Coach. Here we go. So for our San Antonio teams, high school scores here. So don't mind Coach Rafa's lovely hair. But utilize this hashtag on your scores, the 210 soccer scores, hashtag 210 soccer scores. These will be ways where we can track your individual games, and we can highlight results. All of these will help us highlight players, highlight results going forward. And so I know the last thing before we wrap up, Coach, I know you wanted to mention, you did have it on your San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, but the one thing I did want to hit on is probably by our next episode, we'll at least mention it, or you'll have a preseason, your San Antonio Power Rankings, but also we will introduce the first edition of your RPI, right? Your Rafa Power Index, which will be your statewide power rankings, your pound for pound, regardless of, doesn't matter, your 6A, 5A, 4A, private, these will be state rankings, pound for pound across all levels. So for sure. So appreciate that. Any final thoughts on those, Coach?
Yeah, just like I said, I'm working on that. Like I said, we did come out, like I said, with the San Antonio Roundtable with the local area rankings with our top 15, but I'm going to come out with a statewide, and I'm just doing the research. Like I said, I've seen some other rankings in other areas that, like I said, we do our homework here. So, some might agree with this, some of that. I know I got some little flack on some of the one top 15, but hey, it's all good. But like I mentioned, the one ranking that counts the most is the one that's holding the trophy at the end of the season. So, right. But it's good. It's good to recognize some of these teams, whether they're here for us, like for local, but also we're going to start recognizing teams statewide. So whether you're in Region 1, Region 4, 2, or 3, we're going to recognize you on all the hard work you do, and then, like I said, it's gonna see who are our top teams that we see as far as here in the state of Texas. So
right.
Kudos to them.
Yeah, the rankings are nice. They're cool. They generate buzz, and they're good validation when you get ranked. And sometimes I know some people, they get, as I like to call it, they get all in their feelings when they're not ranked. Right? They say, "Hey, what about me?" But keep this in mind. It's like, if it's just icing on the cake if you are mentioned. If you're not, it's just something to work towards. But they're all subjective, right? And the one thing that separates us here in Inside Texas High School Soccer from other people that can throw out, just rankings across individual classifications, across a region, across the state, what you're going to get here from us is actual analysis of districts, of matchups, of games, and definitely when we work our way into the playoffs. Not just lists based upon recommendations, but actual analysis and breakdowns of matchups and games, as we said. So that's what really separates us here, is the analysis. Right or wrong, it's not so much. That can be a little bit on the subjective side, but we really try to be as objective as possible in our analysis and not let it be swayed one way or the other. So again, for our listeners everywhere, want to wish you a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays going forward. Be safe in the new year. We will be coming back with another edition very soon of Inside Texas High School Soccer. When are you guys slated for your next episode of San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, Coach?
I think Harry and I were probably looking, maybe could be the first week we come back, or we may wait till like after the first week of the year, maybe that Sunday, because we do need to cover some recent signings for SAFC, because we do cover San Antonio FC. Some information with Corinthians, because now they're part of the PSL, and
right.
So, but I know for sure, talking to Harry and also to Royce, more like we're going to probably come maybe that second week, do a little roundup at the highlight of the first week of the high school soccer season, so we're gonna have something to talk about, for that week.
Yeah,
and then also maybe update some rankings too. So, like I said,
there you go.
See who goes up and who goes down.
Yeah, for sure. All right, awesome, good deal. Again, we may be working on a episode of the 50/50 podcast before the new year. May see if certain things fall in place. But again, you can find us, in addition to on Twitter. You can go to YouTube. Like, subscribe. That's the best way. Click on the bell so you can get the notifications of upcoming episodes. You can find us on Twitter at 50_50pod. You can find us at 50_50 podcast on Instagram, and then on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. So unless we don't see you until next year, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Please be safe, everybody. Thank you to all our listeners, our supporters, our subscribers. You're the reason why we do it. A lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next coming months. Thank you again for everything. And until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.